Okay, so we are back. Com 2003 Relational Database, Monday section, Lesson 2 and Part 2. Right? We were talking about how do you create a table, and if you would like to give additional features to the columns or attributes of a table, how do you do that? So we've looked at two, the not null and the default. Now our next step is basically to insert data, and I'll show you how they differ, how the not null and null work. Though we'll have to do a little given a statement, but I'll show how it works, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so if you're all ready, let's go forward, right? So now the insert statement. So as I said, definitely you need to insert data in a table before you use it. We'll talk about how do you edit it, that is update and delete it afterwards. But right now today, the aim is insert data. Okay, so let's look at the insert statement now, right? The insert statement is, so you basically say insert into, right? So I'm saying, where do I want to insert my data? So I'm basically saying insert into, and then now comes the table name. So again, remember, you could have more than one table. So you just can't say insert because you have to say which table are you inserting the data into. Okay, so I'm going to write insert statement in a few forms. And as we do it, I'm just going to explain what each one means and maybe put a comment too. So since the name of my table is table students, I'll say insert into table students, right? So we'll look at a few different ways of inserting data. And this one simply, I'm simply saying insert into table students. I'm not giving any field list, nothing. I'm not mentioning anything at all. All I'm saying is insert into table students, right? And now what do you want to insert? So let's look at various insert statements. I'm saying insert all column values in the same order as they appear in the definition. What I'm basically saying is I'm going to insert all column values. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 values will be provided. All values are varchar, so basically text. And I'm just using the same sequence. So the first value I give should go into student name, the second into birthplace, so on and so forth, is what I'm trying to say. That's all I'm trying to say. So let's insert into this table. So as I'm going to show you a few versions of insert, that's why I'm kind of writing a comment. Okay, now step number 2. It says, okay, what do you want to insert? So I'm not mentioning any field names at all. The field list is absent, right? I'll tell you what the field list is in the second option. Now, what are the values you want to insert? That's step number 2, right? So kind of the statement is not yet complete. So therefore, you notice how insert into is blue. That means that's part of the command, and then the word values. So this is provided by the user. The name of the table is provided by the user. You could have more than one table in a database. So you have to say, which table am I inserting the values into? I'm just writing it in different lines so that it is easy to read again, but you don't have to. Okay, so if you like, you can insert your own data into it. I mean, you don't have to write what I'm doing, but that's all I'm doing, right? So the name comes first. Now there is a one-to-one correspondence of the value you give here and the name of the column. So Anju Chawla is going into student name. One-to-one correspondence, right? The second value, notice how I'm separating it by comma, is going into the birthplace. You have to exactly provide 5 values. The sequence matters, right? So here, if you want, again, we can kind of complete this. How many values? Exactly. I mean, not null and null really doesn't matter. You have to exactly provide 5 values because I have 5 columns. And sequence is important. Does it make sense? Does the comment make sense? I'm saying 5 values have to be provided. Why? Because I have 5 columns. I'm not giving any, I'm just saying insert into table students. I'm not giving any list. No field list is provided. No field list is provided. I'm not giving any field list at all. So exactly 5 values and sequence matters. Okay, so the third value is email. Again, you can, whatever you like. I'm just putting in my data. Fourth value, the job desired. When I do not give a field list, then I have to give 5 values. Default or not null really doesn't, nothing matters. And the last value was favorite sites. Again, it's up to you, whatever you would like to do. You could, I mean, again, you could separate them by commas within, you could separate them by semicolons, whatever you like, but anything within double quotes is a text field. Okay, so do whatever you like, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to just separate them by maybe commas. And remember to put this, and then end it with a round bracket. If you have more than one records, then you have to put a comma here to continue and go forward. So you can at a time insert more than one values if you like, right? So I put a comma at the end, and now if you want, you can insert. So if you like, this way it will be much easier here. And then you can fill it in, right? And then you can fill it in. So each record comes in a round bracket of its own. The values have to exactly match the type that you mention in your definition. The sequence matters, and since no field list is provided, you're basically just giving in values. I don't see any red squiggly or anything. I have an empty record here, nothing, I haven't put any values, and it doesn't even say anything yet, right? It's not saying that you haven't given me those 5 values or anything. So what's not null doing, or what's happening? Let's try this. I want you to try it. And you will see, okay, I've tried it, but how do I see the values? What's in my table? I want to see that. So just to see the value, let's use the verb select the table contents. Or you can say rows. Okay, or you can also say tuples. And the statement is select all the columns from my table. And the name of the table is TBL students. Let's see. I have a record with my information. Then I have an empty record. Opening bracket, closing bracket, empty record. Then I have another empty record. And then I put a semicolon. I didn't provide any values for any of the fields for the second, any of the fields for the third. Whereas in my class, I said, just before the break, I said, if I say something is not null, then a value has to be provided. So what's happening? Let's try. So please run your code, run your script. This is your run button, run your script. And notice what it says. It says, look at the error. Do you notice the error? It says column count doesn't match value count at row 2. What it is trying to say is you promised that I will give you 5 values and you haven't given me any values. So it's not working, right? So 5 values need to be provided by you if you do not use a field list. So just let's do this. Let's see if this works. Here, let's do this. Oh, why is it giving an error? Remember, I have a comma at the end and I have only one record. So I'm just putting the semicolon on a different line so that if I wanted to add more records, it's just easier. I mean, you don't have to put it in a separate line, just so that if I wanted to another, I'll have to put a comma. So records are, or rows or tuples, whatever you would like to call them, whatever makes sense to you. Whatever makes sense to you. Right? So records have to be added. The record contents come in a round bracket. And then if you are adding more than one, all you do is separate them by commas, right? So let's pick up somebody from your class. Just let me see if I have the right list. Kyle. Kyle is Kyle in this class? Yes. Okay. So here, is it okay if I enter the data? Okay. So I'm going to enter Kyle's data here. So if I wanted to do that, this is what I would do. So Kyle is, oops. It's always good to kind of give like this, then you don't make a mess. Now, since I have more than one records, please remember, put a comma after the first record, and then let's complete this. So Kyle's name is, oh, that's good to see that he needs a Are you this Kyle? Is it the right Kyle I'm talking about? Right. Okay. So Kyle's name has a single quote. Notice it will work. I have double quotes. I'm using double quotes for my text data. His name has a single quote, and it works perfectly fine. If his name, so you can use a single one. As I said, you can either use single or double. Now that's going to create a problem. That's going to create a problem because I'm enclosing the text in single quotes and there is a single quote inside. What was the solution I told you? You could always escape it and it will work fine. It's fine now. Right? So if you want a double quote inside a double quote, escape it using the backslash. If you need a single quote inside a single quote, again, escape it. These are called escape sequences. Escape means use it like a literal, like what I'm saying. Don't use it as a special meaning. The special meaning here is enclosing the text. And again, the other way is to put double quotes outside and single quote inside. Then you don't even have to escape. I mean, you could escape it, but you don't have to escape it, right? But irrespective, if you're going to use double quotes for your text data, please remain consistent. If you're going to use single, please be consistent. I leave it to you. I'll use a mixture in different scripts, not in the same script. In the same script, I'll be consistent. Okay? And that's what I want you to. And anytime you have to escape any special character, put a backslash in front of it. The job is done. Okay? So now the second value, he said his birthplace was Canada. He did not mention any city or anything. And that's what I do. He did not provide an email. He did not provide an email. So since I don't have data about him, that's what I have to do. I have to exactly give 5 values, guys. Remember, he didn't provide a value. I have to give something blank. But I can't say, oh, didn't provide, I won't give.
So what will happen because email set to not null?
But remember, not null is different from an empty string. This is an empty string. Okay. Right? That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Empty string is different from a null. Null is a special value which simply means defined. Now, what is that definition? Doesn't matter. The definition could be an empty string. Okay. So I have to exactly provide 5 values. 1 and 2. Ben asked me, but you are not giving any value, but that's an empty string. And remember, null says defined or undefined, and that's an empty string, which is different from being null or not null. I'll show you the null also, right? And the third value provided, he wanted to be a web designer or a database analyst. That's what he said. Now, I said job desired. He's given me 2 jobs, but you know what? It's just a text field. So I'll go web designer. And since he mentioned more than one, again, you can separate by colons, semicolons, comma, whatever you like. But at the end of the day, you have to know that that's what I've separated it by. So when you get it, you know how to split it. But again, we will never keep more than 1 pieces of data in a field. That's what we will when we start designing well. But he said web designer and database analyst. So you can put whatever you like. But again, be consistent, however you separate your data. And then lastly, he said his favorite sites were CBCCA, expected, right? And gamespot.com. So it looks like he's a gamer. Or maybe he wants to be a gamer, or maybe he's just a game lover. Could be anything. There, that's what he said. And that's the end of the record. Oh, I already had one. I'll just put it in a different so that you can see. So the first record at line number 29 has a comma at the end because there are more coming, right? The second one does not have a comma at the end. The whole statement is terminated by a semicolon. Make sense? These 2 records should be inserted in the table. They should be, because I don't think there is anything wrong. I exactly gave 5 values. The sequence matters. If I had given Canada as the name and Kyle's name in the birthplace, they'll be just switched. I mean, I put in wrong data will be saved. It has, like, remember, the computer is a dumb machine. How does it know that Canada is not a name? It is a name, the name of a country, and Kyle is not a birthplace. It will just do what you tell it to do, as long as the types match. Right? Since both are character, both are text, really it doesn't matter. But of course, if it was a number and I was trying to give Canada, then it would come back with an error, but not now. So let's run it again. So run your script again. The script has run, and after the select statement, notice that I have both the records at the right place. Data inserted. As simple as that. So the insert statement is inserting data into the table. If I do not provide a field list, then the requirement is that exactly the same number of values in the same sequence should appear in the round brackets. It matters. You have to provide those values. If no value, then of course the empty string or whatever, but exactly the same number of values in the same sequence. Try switching Kyle's name and the country and see what happens, right? It really, all that will happen is his name will go into his birthplace and his birthplace will go into his name. They're both strings. So it just accepts what you give it. Try doing that and see what happens. Okay, so that's one insert statement. Clear? In its simplest form. Will work mostly because that's your aim. Inserting data and you just want to insert. But sometimes it becomes irritating in the sense that I don't want to provide all 5 values. I don't have this person's email and I don't want to provide it, and you're still forcing me to give it an empty string, right? So now let's see what happens. To begin with, just to begin with, I'm going to say that email is not, Java comments. I'll just say that email is not required. I'm not making it compulsory yet. I'm not. So now the only field that is compulsory is student name. Okay, so let's try now. Let's write a few more insert statements in different forms. So let's try to insert some fields. Right? Again, I'm calling them fields, columns, whatever you like. Okay. Does the insert statement change? No. Insert into the name of the table, TBL students, the word values. But now, since I want to insert some fields, I'll have to give a field list. So you will provide the field list. How you provide the field list? The data will match 1-to-1, right? So provide the field list, provide data in the same sequence. So even if you wanted to provide all the 5 fields, but in a different sequence, you could have used this. You could have changed the sequence. So nothing says that you can do this. Let me do it for you, just so that you have it. I'm going to insert the same data again, the one that we did before. You'll say, can't I give the field values if I want? Of course you can give the field. Okay, here. Let me give more space. Here. Okay, that's the only thing I can do here. The first 2 statements that I had written, the insert statement, I'm repeating them again, but I'm giving the field list. You'll say, who wants to do all this if you want to mention everything? But you know what? Just to let you know, you could have provided the whole list. The third was email, I think, right? The fourth was job desired. And the fifth was favorite sites. Here. So if you want, you can provide the field list. Nothing stops you. You can. So I gave the whole list: student name, birthplace, email, job desired, and favorite sites. I did provide the whole list. If you wanted to, you could do that. So if you don't provide a field list, then of course it has to match absolutely. If you want to write all the names again, that depends upon you. Or if you want, you can provide the field list, but in a different order. So let's do that. We'll see a lot of Anjus and Kyles. We are going to provide the field list, but in a different order. That's allowed too. So just for the heck of it, I'm going to put the birthplace first and put the student name afterwards. I could do anything. I just did this one. And maybe if you like, we can, no, that's too much work. Let's do this. So all you have to do is pick up this field and put it in the front. You have to match it. Otherwise, of course, the data will be incorrect. And take the second field and put it in the first place. Okay, that works. So you can provide the data in any sequence you want, as long as it matches the list that you give here with your data here. It's fine. Nothing stops you. It will just go in its right place if you've provided it right. Remember, if the sequence is wrong, then things will go at wrong places. If you provide a wrong value, that's fine. If you provide a wrong data type, then it will give you an error. So providing the name, the birthplace instead of name, it will just accept it. They're both string values. It doesn't know that Canada is not a person's name, but a birthplace. It just takes the value. But if you provide a non-numeric value for a numeric field, then of course you will have an error. But here it is okay. So let's try this again. So just maybe you can comment this out for a minute. So I've done the same thing. In one, I've provided no list. By default, 5 values into the 5 fields. In two, I have provided the field list, but in the same sequence. Again, I said 5 fields. I have to provide 5 values. In the third one, I gave the field list in a different sequence, but again, I said 5 values and I provided 5 values, but in a different sequence. Doesn't matter. They will just go where you said they should go. Run the script. Look at your table. There. Everything is at its right place because data was provided properly. So the same record is being repeated. I mean, I could have put in other fields, but other values, but I just chose copy and paste to save time. Works? So you understand? You may not provide a field list, one-to-one correspondence with the names of the fields and the types and the data. Everything should match. You can provide a field list, just some programmers just do it. I mean, it makes maybe things clear in their head. That's fine too. If you provide them in a different sequence, you can do that too. Now the fourth, now let's look at, you'll say, I mean, all these were the same kind. Yeah, they were. Now let's insert some fields. If I insert some fields, then I have to say which fields am I inserting. So I'm going to insert the student name. Oh, that's what happens when you start using combinations. I'm going to provide the student name. I'm going to provide the email, right? And I'm going to provide, what else? What was another easy one? Or maybe just 2. Okay, let's do this. So now I'm saying I'm only providing 2 values. I'm going to provide a student name and I'm going to provide an email. Okay, so what should your values be? Each value must consist of, each record must consist of 2 values. Pritinder, okay to use your data? Is it okay? Can I put in your data? Okay. So here, so I'm going to put in, so Pritinder Singh, that's his name, right? Oops. That's his name. And notice I said I'll provide 2 values. I can't leave it at 1. If you try to not match, then you will have the same error that you had before. The count does not match. And to his email, I mean, I won't use his, personal email, but all of us know that for students, you have a student number and at mygeorgian.ca. So I'll just go some email, just so that I'm not giving away his email, right? So I have Pritinder's data. Balpreet, is it okay to use the data? Okay. So for Balpreet, because there is another name I've learned. Balpreet Singh again. Looking, typing, speaking, everything. And again, I'll just say student dot. Student at my Georgian or something. I think you guys use, yeah, right? I'm not so sure. Here. This will work perfectly fine. But you will notice something. Let's see what happens. I haven't provided birthplace. Let's see what happens for birthplace. I haven't provided favorite sites, and I haven't provided job desired. But job desired had a default value. Remember? Okay. Run your script, please. Look at the table contents. Do you notice something? Notice the default value in Pritinder's and Balpreet's records. They're both programmers. We could have said programmer would be a better word, but I think I was showing you that double quotes and single quote stuff. There. So the default value, this is the use of a default value. If you do not provide a value for that field, automatically it will pick up the default value and insert in that field. So is the use of default clear? The normal English word default. If it is not available, this is what you do. Okay? Okay. Yogesh, can I help you? Are you stuck at something? Okay. Okay, so we'll just remove the S just because it is odd. Okay, so that's it. That's another way of inserting data. You say what you want to insert. Again, the sequence doesn't matter. Provide the field list, provide data in the same sequence for the same number of fields. Of course, you can't mismatch. Try giving less or try giving more. Both will cause a problem. Definitely, right? Both will cause a problem. Try giving less, you will have a problem. You said there were 2 fields and you are giving only for 1 field. Try giving more. You said there were 2 fields and you are giving for 3 fields. Both will cause problems. You will have errors in both cases. Now, does that make sense? So you can provide a field list. You may not provide a field list. You can provide some values. You may not provide all values. So things are working. Now let's look at that not null that I was talking about. I said the user is forced to provide a value for this field. Let's see if it works. Okay, so let's insert another way. Insert just the name to show the use of null. Right? Okay, so let's say what will be the statement? The statement still remains the same. The command still remains the same. Insert into. Where are you inserting? In the table students. What are you inserting? Just the name. I mean, I could have inserted more. I'm just trying to keep it simple. So, no, I want to do something else. How can I prove this to you? Because if I do this, then if I don't give anything, it will say the count does not. Okay, let me answer the maybe the empty one first. Let's do this. I have inserted a name, but the name is blank, like but it is a value. It's a valid value. An empty string is a valid value. So notice the last record. There is a record there. It has nothing in the name, but not null. Notice the difference. It doesn't have anything in the name, but it's not null. Whereas the fields birthplace have null. Default value is null if you don't say anything. The email is null. The job desired is programmer because that was his default value, and the favorite sites is null. But the name is not null. You have provided a value. But here is the question: what is a name? What is an empty name? An empty name also doesn't make sense. But keep in mind that this has already been tested at the front end. When you've taken data, you've already validated that a name was provided. You only come to this stage of inserting data after it has been validated at the front end. So your front end script, whether it is PHP or whatever, has already validated your data. However, you are taking your data. Now, how do I show you the null? The null works. I mean, how do I show you it doesn't, and then it works or not? I'm trying to think of something so that. Okay, let's do. No, it's kind of a catch thing. Let me try.
You have commented the email one. That's why it's not working.
No, this will work. Yeah, now I have to show you. I want to show you something, but I'm kind of a little. Okay, yeah, you're right. I can do that. So let's do this without changing anything. Let's put a comment here. Oh, yeah, because there is only one null field, right? Okay, let's do this. Bring back your email to not null. Where is that? Remember, we started with 2 not null fields. Here. Okay. I could have done, but then I would have to write more. Here, there. So now my email is also not. Did I provide email in the first one? Yes. Did I provide email? Okay. Let's try this one. Insert just to show the use of null. Now, when I run this script, it should say that email should be provided. It should, right? So here, just so that it doesn't look odd, but I mean, this is allowed. There's nothing wrong in it. So you can keep a, you know what I can do? Make a note for yourself. An empty string is defined. So it is not null. Keep in mind, there are 2 different things, okay? I'm going to show you a few things. So remember, this worked. I had a name which was an empty name. Now I have also made my email as not null, but I'm not inserting it. I'm just saying insert into table student name, and in the other one, let's learn another name. So I learned Pritinder and Balpreet. I did learn a few names. Let's not go beyond. I know I can do it. Let's do Nick, since I learned that name today, right? So Nick. So Nick, Justin, Ben, Kyle, Pritinder, and Balpreet. That's enough. Okay. So this, according to what I've said, I told you, I said email should be provided. But let's see, does it give me an error or it doesn't give me an error? So let's see. That's what I said. So no error. But she said that email is not null and I'm fine. See, here are the two records. Did you see the two records I have? One without a name and the other with Nick, and both of them were given default value. Nothing happened in email. It just left it blank. So what's the sense of saying not null when it doesn't listen to you? Because I've missed a statement. I have to tell it that be strict about it. So all you have to do is this, wherever you like, but I'm just doing it at the beginning of my script so that you know what, like I don't forget. Please see that you say that follow my instructions strictly, right? So you have to say, and this is how you say it. Set. You can set it in the environment. You can set it in the environment. You can find out where it is and do it right in the workbench, or because I'm a programmer, I don't want to bother with whether the default settings and so on. I just make my own statements. I'm saying set my SQL mode. SQL mode is a variable I'm setting, right? So I'm saying my SQL mode is strict all tables. All my tables as they have been defined are, oops, I'll just kind of use the same. I said I'll use my conventions here. So I am saying, so without this, the not null is not working. Without this, the not null is not working. So if you like, put a comment for yourself. To enforce the not null directive. You're basically directing it, right? So I'm calling it not null directive. If you do not give this, it's just a variable that is being set. And there are many variables that need to be set. Depends, you know, what you're doing. There are many variables that are predefined that have default values. And if you need to set them, you will either use the set command or you will set them in the options or somewhere in your software, whatever works for you, right? So you can look it up, see where the SQL mode is and set it. So there are many set commands. Again, what are the set commands? What can I set and so on? Google. Go to the manual and see what are the set commands that are available. I'll be using a few during my classes. This is the first one I use. So I'm basically saying that SQL mode needs to be set. So start typing set and hopefully you will see more help, right? I think when I start setting set, no, doesn't help a lot. Yeah, but it should. Like, you can always look up what are these. So what am I saying? In kind of, if you look at, I mean, it's just normal English. It's saying all tables are strict. It's basically saying, if I don't know, have you done JavaScript, guys, or any other loosely typed language? You put use strict at the head of the code and then it becomes a strict language. Same kind of concept. You're setting an SQL mode variable to say strict all tables. All my definitions are strictly to be followed. Now try to run your script. Now try to run. And what have you done? You have provided a name, but you haven't provided an email. And you said email and name are both required. Now run it. Let's see. Do we have an error? Do you see an error? It says error. Look at the error code 1364 at line number 67. You'll say, oh, that's not line number 67. It's just how it is running. Okay. It says line. Here is the statement. Here is where your problem is. Here, this insert into statement. Do you recognize the statement? This one. This is where it is giving you an error. It says field email doesn't have a default value. The error message doesn't say that you said not null, but it is trying to say it is not null. You haven't provided me a value. There is no default value. What do? I was safe if I had given it a default value. Then I was safe. For a not null field, a value needs to be provided. What is the only exception? If you put default with it. So if you do not provide a value, it uses the default, and that's fine. It says you didn't provide a value, but it has a default value, so the field is still defined. So if a field is not null, a value has to be provided. Keep that in mind. So this won't work. It won't budge. I can't do it till I rectify. So keep in mind, for a non-null field, a value must be provided for a not null field. What is the exception? When can you kind of override this? When it has a default value. So if you say not null and default something which is kind of contradicting each other, but at least default says if you don't give me a value, except if it has a default. Does that make sense? So if a field is not null, a value must be provided. But if you said something like not null default this, then it says, okay, don't provide it. I'll do it myself. I'll give it a default value. But it should have a value. So is it making sense? Insert just the name to show the use of the null in email, or not null in email, right? That's what you said. A value must be provided for a non-null field. In our case, what is the non-null field? Email, except if it has a default. An empty string is defined too. Just to show you that there is a difference between an empty string and null. They're two different things, keep in mind. Defining something and not defining something is null and not null. It has a definition. Whether the definition is an empty name doesn't matter, though it won't make sense. So what should you do? So this won't work. So you can say this won't work. It won't. Right, okay, but we've already tried it. So I'm going to put it in block comments because I know it will not work. This will not work. So how will you rectify it? All you have to do is this. Take this, put it here, and now provide what? Email. This has to be provided. You can't work without it. You cannot. So name needs to be provided and email needs to be provided. These two fields. So again, put a note for yourself. So in our script, in this script, name and email need to be provided for every record. And this will work now. Oops, sorry, it will be fine. I mean, I'm just giving, I don't want to give out your personal emails or anything. This will work. Run the script. And again, keep in mind that an empty name is of no use. But before you save an empty name, that data checking or data validation, as it is called, has to be done at the front end. So you can go for not null and null, but of course you should provide a name. So an empty name makes no sense, but you didn't say it can be empty. Right? So data validation should be done at the front end for those. I mean, value has to be provided. Right? So keep in mind, again, you can put a note for yourself. The data should be validated. So for example, empty name. I mean, it's kind of an odd word to say empty name, but that's what it means, right? Empty name. On the front end, before it is saved. If you like, you can kind of put another insert, or maybe take the same thing that we had, since we have it. So an empty name like this, I can provide it. I mean, you can keep both of them empty. They're valid. Empties are valid. There's nothing wrong in it. Like, it's silly, but that's fine. That's a valid record. Right? But the data should be validated on the front end before it is saved. For example, empty name or email. So that has to be done. I mean, we are not doing it here because, I mean, we are assuming that we could, but that's not the job of this. This is saving the data. So when the data comes, it should all be validated. But at least we've said this, that the name and email, but this will work. Name and email must be provided. So what will be your second last record? Your second last record will have an empty name and an empty field. See, there it is. Empty name and an empty email. So you've seen the flavors of the insert statement, right? Insert in a field list, insert in a change field list, insert all the fields, insert some fields, the use of default, the use of not null, whatever you like. So now here I could have combined, I could have said the job desired has to be given. I should know what is the job you're looking for. But with the not null, I could have said default, and that will be fine. It will work perfectly fine. You could say job desired, default is programmer, and it has to be provided. You can do this. You can combine it with not null. It's perfectly valid. It is valid. So you're not providing it and it doesn't bark anything, it's fine. But because you have given it a default value. And this will work. So here you are safe. So not null with the default combination is kind of safe. It is safe. Don't provide a value, I'll give it a programmer. No, but if it didn't have a default, then of course things would be different. Right? So usually, like, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that you're saying not null and you're giving it a default. So the situation will never arise at all. Right? It will never arise at all. But maybe, let me show you something. Now that I've said it, what do you think will happen here? Let's take this. Again, I'm picking up the insert statement just because it's easy. I'm putting it here. And I'm giving, what was the third field that I just made? Job desired. Try this. Right? So I'm just going to, I'm adding a new record. I'm going to say A, no, thank you. I'm going to say B, just for the heck of it. What did I do for job desired? Null. You can provide a null value. Null is a valid value. Let's see, does it work? What does it say? Job desired cannot be null. You said it is not null, and you gave me a null value. Now do you see the difference between empty fields and null fields? So null is a reserved word. You can provide a null value by saying null. And I can do this. Why? Because I said not null default. So I cannot give it a null value. It has to be not null. And not null is different from an empty string or a string only consisting of blanks. Blank, 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 blank. 5 blanks, 10 blanks, doesn't matter. Now that's another thing that you should have a student name, you should have an email. Those are other things. But here, this won't work. It won't. So again, make a note. This won't work. Here it will work. In this script, name and need for every record. Save for, you can say save for, what was that field? Job desired. Since has a default. It was safe. Now I've made 3 fields that are not null, just so that I can show you. So I'm only providing you student name and email, and I'm fine. It runs. The script runs because it has a default. This won't work because job desired cannot be null. Usually, you know what programmers do, just to keep it neat. They'll put everything in all the fields, everything, irrespective of anything. And if they want to provide a null value, they will write null, comma null. So everything has 5 values. It's just neater. Every record looks like everything has been put, kind of copy from the data and put it here. So people like to use null also. They don't want the system to give null default values on their own, which it gives. Notice how we had null in those fields that I didn't provide any value. Some programmers like this. They will provide where they want, even, I mean, this won't work, but if they wanted to give a null value, they will provide it. So this won't work again. So I'll put it in comics. But some programmers have this habit of putting the word null, even though they know that that's its default value. For completeness, like, I don't know, people, I've seen it, so many scripts. It's your choice. How you like to work is your choice. Right? So I think I've shown you all flavors of insert. Ask any questions, please. Anything that's not clear, please ask. And this statement, the select statement in its simplest form, we will start doing more of it in the next class, because now you want to say, what if I only want to select the name? What if I want to select name and email, but I want to show it in a different manner? What if I want to give different titles to my columns when I see them? Remember, these names are not bad. These names are not bad. The ones that you see are not bad, but definitely if you want to kind of create a better user experience, maybe you would like to call it name of student, birthplace, like something else, or maybe capital the first word at least, like English, like we do it in English, right? So you can change column names. You can change the sequence in which you show them. This is all for displaying. So select, more of select is your next topic, right? More of select. But you've done create database, use database, create table, insert into table. This is what you've learned. And then, and a simple select statement. This statement simply means when you write select star, all it means is select all the columns. It means select all the columns from the table. That's what it means. Or in other words, you can also say the table contains rows, tuples, records. All the columns from these. So your select, the star stands for all columns. That's what the star stands for. That's what it means. You'll say, what if I want to only select some rows? Then what do? Then you have to start using conditions. Where name is Anju, where job desired is programmer, where job desired is where developer. So this statement is selecting all the columns. Maybe we shouldn't even confuse it here. Just remove this, please. If you have added it, I won't even confuse you here. I'll just say select all the columns from the table. The entire table is selected. So the star stands for all columns. We haven't yet learned, or I haven't even shown you how to select. This is all records. All columns and all records. But the star stands for columns for your information. And from just means from where, and the name of the table just says which table. Okay? All clear? So now you're ready for your first in-class assignment. That's what you're ready for. So what I'm going to do is, it's 10:26. The class ends at 8 to 11. Oh, another 25 minutes. Okay, not bad. Let's see. You can at least start. You can ask questions. You can start typing or whatever. And complete it before you come to my next class. But please, honest, do it yourself. Take the help of the manual, take my help, look for examples on the net, but at the end, it should be you doing your own work. And just letting you do it at home just because we will save time with it. So you start now. Before you leave, I'll come around and see how much you were able to do. Okay, so if you open a Blackboard, you will find that your first in-class assignment is under your course assignments, and in-class assignments. Edit is on. Yeah, permit users. Okay, so here and edit. And show the script to due date. Make the assignment available. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, so that I know you finish it off. What is it, 16th today? Yes. Okay, what do you think? Midnight is fine?
Yeah.
Works for everybody? Okay, good. Anybody who is working, this is just because maybe next Monday is a holiday, I'm trying to save some time. Right? Are we all okay with midnight today? Do you have work?
Tomorrow end of day we have all day classes.
Starting today till tomorrow?
Yeah. Yes. We have 3 classes today.
Okay, so what do we do then? Okay, so just for this one, let's do this. Let's leave it open, right? But Monday is a holiday. Okay, so what is it today? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. How does Thursday sound? Okay, Thursday sounds okay? Right? Okay, so what is Thursday? 19th? Are you all okay for Thursday? Okay, and end of day. Okay. Usually the in-class assignment, I'll give you enough time to do it in class. We'll mark it and done and finished. So there will be, hopefully there'll be no issues like this. Just because We haven't started right in the sense because of the classes. That's how good. Okay, so go here now. Go to Blackboard, download this document. I'll quickly go through it with you so that you know my expectations, and then you do what you have to do and then submit it via that. Please see that you follow the naming conventions. Do you notice there are naming conventions on the on the assignment? Please submit the script only. I just need your script file .sql. That's all I need from you. Remember, you're saving your scripts. All the scripts are being saved with .sql, right? And I'll put this on Blackboard for you now. Once we are ready, I'll put it on Blackboard for you, okay? And I'll do it right away so that you have it. And then all you have to do is submit the script file only. Please ensure I've seen it running in class and have a printed copy. Oh, I didn't give you anything. I should change this. I'll tell you to call it something like your name. Then it will be easy for me to recognize. Okay, so, or maybe it's in my script. Oh, I've given you 2 sheets. This was the rough one. I should have removed the, okay. I'm sure, there it is. Call me over so that I can see the script running. Give me a printed copy of this. Leave that alone, doesn't matter. Rename the script this and submit it via the assignments, in-class assignments. That's fine. Don't give me a printed copy. I'll change that. For the other section, I'll change it. You just take this, and this was actually a rough table to make it neater so that it looked much better. I kind of made this myself, okay? So don't worry about that, but this is important for you. And I'll say, I won't ask for a printed copy. For your own good, if you want to bring it to next class, it depends on you. So this is the assignment. Right, the printed copy I take sometimes for small assignments, and I can just put my comments on it and return it to you. It is easy. If you would like that, sure, give it to me. I can do that for you. Some students like to see written comments. Right, when the scripts become large, then I'm not telling you to waste paper. But when scripts are small, I'm okay. Okay, here is what you have to do. Create a well-documented script. So definitely your name, date, and purpose at the head. That's all I'm asking. That creates a database called DB Drinks. So I've given you the name of the database, right? And for me, it is important because all of you will be calling it DB Drinks. Remember to do your drop so that I can run everybody's script one after another. Remember to do drop. And then creates the table. Oh, okay. I'll call it TBL Drinks therein, whose information is given below. I'll follow the same conventions I do in class, okay? The data type for the fields must be the best fit. So it is important. Are you going to use an integer? Are you going to use a float? Are you going to use 2 places after decimal? Are you going to use 1 place after decimal? Are you going to use no decimal, only integers? It is important for me. Are you going to use a tiny int? Are you going to use ice? Are you going to use, just as a hint, are you going to use a bit variable? Are you going to use an enumerated data type? I think when you start to research, you will see there are more options. This is up to you. So this is your research work on data types, okay? As evident from the data. So I'm looking for best fit. That is important. Look at the calories. The calories are 33, 12, 35, 24, 171, 135, 17. Why would you use an int for it, which ranges till almost, what is the integer value? What did we see? It was such a big figure. Even the small int was still 32,000 something, right? 32767. Would you use that even? No, it doesn't make sense. What would you use? A tiny int. Tiny int is enough. So I want you to think, okay? Cost, 2 places after decimal. Carbs, 1 place after decimal. So I want you to think. So therefore, I've said the best fit as evident from the data. I've given you the data. All fields are not null. All the fields are not null. Cost, carbs, and calories are numeric fields. I want them to be numeric fields. Insert text data in quotes and numeric data without quotes. So when you insert text data, you use quotes. And when you insert numeric data, I don't want you to use quotes. Though SQL will let you, but don't use quotes, please, for numeric data. Don't forget the statement set SQL mode to strict all tables, because otherwise, remember, not null does not work. Then populate the data with the data. Then populate the table with the data provided. So something that we've done in class, you just have to repeat it, right? And I'll do a few things. I'll change the name of this drinks to table drinks. I'll leave the print copy. I mean, it depends on you. It really doesn't matter to me. And then I'll remove this table. Yeah, I'll remove this table. I think I forgot to remove it. I first copied it, and then I thought it's very untidy. The picture was not good, and the names didn't match what I wanted. So that's why. So I'll do that. So you download this, and by the time you're starting, I'm going to clear this, like make it neater. I'll stick to my conventions. I have to, otherwise how will you listen to me, right? So I'll do that. So you start working. If there is anything that you want to ask in these 20 minutes, ask and I'll clarify it for you. Otherwise, you will submit it by Thursday midnight. We have all agreed on that, right? And then your job is done. Now comes when will I discuss it in class? Now, since Monday is a holiday, we'll see how it works out. But I will discuss it in class just so that I give you my feedback. So I'll give you my feedback, all of you together, once I look at all the assignments. Okay, so you do that. So I think that's all we need to do today in this class at least. So that's it. Another 15 minutes. I am around to help you out. Work on your in-class assignment and call me over if you need help. Okay, thank you for your patience, guys. See you next week.